We got our main man, Darrin, back, who he is coming on the show, the head coach of Northern Kentucky, the Norse, who we'll get into. We're right out of Hamilton, Ohio, who they have a guy named Trey Robinson that hopefully plays well for him down the stretch. Darrin, thanks for coming on. I'm coming off the bench myself. I found out a few hours ago that I was going to do a show. I seen the lineup. I said, if he's willing to come on, I'm willing to talk to him, and we can have some fun chatting about college hoops. I appreciate you coming on, and I kind of liken it to the idea of you coming on here, you looking, and you realize that the best player fouled out of who you expected to possibly see, and you're just trying to find that guy off the bench, and that's me. So here I am.
Trace,
thank you for coming on, man.
March Madness officially begins on Thursday, right? And it's a next man up mentality. You got to do whatever you got to do. It's survive and advance. Survive and advance, right? And if you're in there number 2, then you got to be good enough to step up and make plays when it counts. That's
right. I don't know if I'm number 2. I'm just the guy that they decided to slide in here today. So we'll start. we'll start with that. Let's start with that because I've looked over your resume before the show. You obviously had been in a situation here before where you're no stranger to March and having some what I would call some late runs into March. When does the light bulb turn on, if you will, when the mentality switches from regular season to, okay, we're now in a position where it feels like the games mean more? And I don't want to put words in your mouth, and I know there's coach speak out there, but there's got to be a time frame in the season when that shifts.
Yeah, I feel like it's like towards the end of the year, right? Like the last couple of weeks, you can see the tournament, from there, so to speak, and I think that your guys start to understand that the season's almost over. You're building towards a tournament. There's a lot of talk of seeding in our league. If you finish in the top 4, you get a home game. So that comes into play in the last few weeks as well. And so I really feel like it's the last couple of weeks heading into the tournament. You start to build that up, and then of course the week of, you really flip the switch and say, hey, this is what it's all about.
So you guys head into the Horizon League tournament as the 4 seed. You played Oakland in a few short days. Now that the momentum, or as you said, that light bulb has turned on, how do you feel about your team to start the year versus now? Obviously, it seems like an incredibly long time. What is maybe the most optimistic or the most positive thing that you didn't see that happened during this year that you didn't see before coming to start it?
I think the biggest thing, and honestly, we had hoped for it at the beginning of the year, but what's happened the last couple of weeks, which for us we're really excited about headed into tournament play, is that we feel like our bench and our depth has really come along. We've got more than just our starters contributing, and not just in coming in and giving solid minutes, but a little production on the scoreboard as well, right? And so, again, at tournament time, you need all hands on deck. You never know who's going to have to step up and make a big shot, or who's going to get in foul trouble, and you need a guy to step in and maybe play some extended minutes, and maybe he just needs to be solid defensively. But whatever it is, we feel like in the last few weeks that, we've been able to go 8-9 deep, and those guys really contribute at a level that we don't feel like there's a lot of drop-off. And so that's something that's a real positive for us. And just in general, Trace, I mean, for us, our mentality is this whole thing is about 3 days in March, right? I'd love to go undefeated. I'd love to, be the regular season champs every year in the Horizon, but it kind of doesn't matter, right? You're not making the NCAA tournament in our league unless you win the conference tournament in March. And so we're pretty big about talking about being our best heading into March and 3 days in March, and how we're built and the way we work. And so, you start to draw on all of that as you get into tournament week as well.
That brings up a very valid point, and one that we've talked about in this office, whether it's fair or unfair. We've gotten to the point in college basketball where most of these teams are going to get judged based off of a tournament that happens at the end of the year, and you start playing in November, but most people pay attention to a 4-week window, and they say this team was frauds or they were legit, whether that's fair or unfair. What is that like in the coaching circles, the fraternity within the coaches that obviously within the Division I level? Is that something that's, I don't want to say frowned upon, disliked, or is that something where people are like, you know what, it is what it is. That's if I'm going to get judged off that, then I'm going to live with it, and I'm not upset about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a reality of the situation, right? I mean, it's kind of the nature of our business. You can do a great job all year long. I mean, there have been times where, maybe as a coach, you feel like you've done one of your better coaching jobs on the whole. But if March doesn't show it with wins, then it doesn't really matter. We had an unbelievable stretch last year. I think we finished like 11-2 in our last 13. Had a lot of new guys, weren't really expected, I don't think, to do a whole lot and end up in the championship game and play great with the exception of about 4 minutes and lost the game. And so it becomes a downer of a year. That just is what it is, But I also think for our guys, it's a great lesson for life too. That sometimes that's how things are, and so what do you need to do to be your best when it matters most?
I have a question that probably varies from year to year, but you look at these conference tournaments that are a one-bid league, and you realize, as you said to start this interview off, that it really just comes down to this. The regular season is what it is, but most people are they're gonna put all their eggs in the basket, which is the tournament. Do you like going into a tournament where you're the prohibitive favorite, if you will, the one that's supposed to win, and if you don't win, it feels like a complete failure? Or do you like being more in a spot where maybe you're at now, there's 3 or 4 teams in the league that you could argue, have every right to win the league? I know you'd probably say you'd rather be in the position to where you have clearly the best team, but I would assume that there's a little bit of a burden that comes with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's both. I think what real pressure is not having what you need, right? What is it? The old Lee Trevino or somebody used to say, pressure is when you got $100 bet on a putt and you got $20 in your pocket. Pressure is when you don't have the ability to do it at all. So yeah, if you feel like you got the best team, I think that's a great place to be in. I think the more important thing is, whether you have that team or not, is can you get your guys in a frame of mind and kind of an attitude of where, hey guys, we're going to go play loose, and we're going to go play confident, because the last thing you want to do is get tight at tournament time. And so again, that's a mentality you try to build during the year, and then really draw upon it when tournament time comes, because that's at the end of the day, this game is about players, and players got to make plays on both ends. And in order to do that, they got to be flying around and playing with some confidence, man.
Yeah, your best players have to make the big-time plays when it matters the most for most teams to make runs in the NCAA tournament, and certainly to get in the NCAA tournament for many of the schools, such as Northern Kentucky, you got to win the conference tournament first. So the last parting question I have for you is, you've had successful runs, and correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm utilizing the internet as a resource, so I don't know how accurate it is or inaccurate it is. At times it can serve both. You had one Sweet 16 run as a head coach, correct? And then you also had a situation where you got a tournament taken away from you.
Yes.
When that tournament got taken away from you, and you sit here on the brink of an opportunity to earn your berth again, what do you miss most about being in the big dance? And when I say miss, it's not as if it's been forever, but nonetheless, how big of a difference is it for the experience of these kids that have been in your program for 3 or 4 years to get an opportunity to play in it versus not? Because you've had to experience it, but some of your guys haven't.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that was the biggest disappointment of not being to actual play in the tournament when we qualified for by winning the tournament my first year here, right, Trace? Is that, we had some guys that had never competed in it, or maybe some guys that were going to be in a different role being able to compete in the tournament. And so, I mean, the NCAA tournament, the experience itself is really unlike anything else in college basketball. And so, as a coach, you want that for your players. You want every guy that you coach to be able to experience that, because it's just something that they take with them and can build upon and really cherish for the rest of their lives. And I think the other thing is, the NCAA tournament appearance, especially for a school like Northern Kentucky, it does so much for your school, right? In terms of exposure and kind of solidifying your donor base and your alumni, and bringing an element of pride to your university. And so, and quite honestly, that's something our school could use right now. And so there's so many things that are positive that come from playing in the NCAA tournament that, as a coach, and I had it as a player as well, 3 different times, and got to experience advancing twice. And so, I've been a part of it and at every kind of level, so to speak, player and coach. And so really, as a coach, what you want it for is you want it for your players and you want it for your university. And so that's kind of my mindset heading into it. And, again, we feel like our best guys are playing well. And here's the thing, Trace, that everybody in the area that might be listening needs to know. It's the beginning of March Madness officially, Thursday night, right here at Truist Arena in Highland Heights, Kentucky. And you know what? Xavier's not playing. Cincinnati's not playing. Ohio State's not playing. Kentucky's not playing. I know that one for sure because my son's on the team.
That's
I'm
right.
just telling you, you want to get your March Madness fix and get ready to maybe cheer on your team. You know, maybe Xavier or the Bearcats. Come in here and get yourself right on Thursday night by back in the local team in Northern Kentucky in tournament action.
Fire me up, Coach. I there's not a better time of the year for me personally. I love just the passion that comes with college basketball, the do or die moments that exist, the late game situations that you could never have imagined possibly ever happening right in front of your eyes. And Coach, I don't know if you believe in speaking things into existence, but depending on where you wind up when you win the Horizon and you possibly can get into this tournament. And last question for you. Do you like the first four? Do you think that's fair for teams that won their league, like as a 16, they have to go and play in the first four?
Man, that's a great question, Tracy. Honestly, I think that ought to be for the 11, all the 11 seeds that were in high-powered conferences that had 100 opportunities to win games to secure their spot and didn't. I kind of feel like if you win your tournament, if we're going to include leagues like the Horizon League, then you ought to just be in the NCAA tournament. Those other schools, man, they had how many chances during the year to get in, and they didn't. Let them play that off in the first four if we got to get down to 64.
Yeah, because I was trying to make a deal here. Obviously, we can go with the SID. It's like if you guys are able to make the tournament, we're going to speak that into existence on this show. We're an NKU show at this point. I mean, we're gonna see if we can round up the gang and bring as many of our loyal followers as we possibly can and cheer on the Norse. And the reason I brought up the first four is because I almost feel like, and I don't want to swear on the show, but it's just wild to me that you could win the tournament, then you get placed into the first four. And it still feels like to the average fan that that's not really the tournament yet. When you earned every bit of the right to be in it. So I'm not speaking for you. I guess I'm more of proclaiming something than anything. But I just could not imagine me getting a deal done here. You win in the league, and you're like, "Yep, you guys are. We'll get you some tickets. We'll get you to wherever we're going, and we're expected to be in Columbus or wherever else." And next thing you know, we're told we have to go to Dayton on a Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever it is, and I that would upset me to no end. But
well, I can tell you this: if that does happen, we're still in the NCAA tournament, and if we win, it's the first win. We are counting it as the first win in Northern Kentucky University history.
All right, fine. Well, and it's a little bit of a shorter drive, so maybe I shouldn't complain of heading to Dayton. We'll take it however we can go. But Darrin, I appreciate you coming on here. I know that obviously you are a big fan of Thom. When Thom gets some of his situations figured out, we'll reach back out to you. And I know that we enjoy talking basketball with you, and hopefully we get to see the Norse playing late into March. But until then, take care.
All right, thanks a lot, guys. Best of Thom.
All right, see you there. All right.